This is the Extra Mile.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Extra Mile. I'm Justin. That's G5. Hey, George.
What's up, man?
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
It's been so long since we've recorded one of these.
It's been a while, actually. I'm kind of bummed.
I forgot how we do.
Yeah, you've already forgotten about me
Caleb.
over here in my corner.
Oh,
Hey,
there's a guy in the corner.
Caleb.
What in the world?
Do we even have a camera on you?
My phone.
Oh, hey, Caleb. There he is on his camera
Eventually
phone.
we'll have something set up. But...
We need donations.
The wizard.
No, we don't.
We need donations of cameras and microphones and tone arms and more coffee. Speaking of coffee, let's have some coffee. George, we have a special
Yeah,
guest.
I was going to say, we have a special guest, and his name is Ethan Fulton.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Ethan.
He's with us today. He's going to talk to us about his story, his journey that he's been going through lately, and I'm excited. He's talked to me before this and said a lot of good things, and Caleb, and so I'm going to let him talk about it and just have a good time. Should be good.
Awesome.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks.
And
Thanks
to those
for
of you
having me.
listening at home and in the car, welcome and have a cup of coffee with us.
Yeah. Just don't burn yourself. Be careful.
And pay attention to the road.
I will say, I think it is so cool that Caleb actually has his own little corner.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I would picture that.
It's an extrovert's worst nightmare.
I've heard y'all talk about Caleb's corner.
It's the Caleb corner.
It's the Caleb corner.
I like it.
Every time we joke about making it like pretty and stuff in the background, but no, it's just my like dark little.
Yeah.
I feel like Smeagol sometimes.
We have no lights. Every time I look at the lights, I'm like, I can't really afford that right now.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. Well, very good. Well, for people who don't know, maybe we should post a before or an after picture. But I've been talking and like you look like a different person than like maybe.
Thanks.
What is it? 6 months ago, maybe even further.
Yeah.
Or earlier. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy, and
thanks.
It's an inspiring transformation.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So let's tell us what's going on with because this is your weight loss journey, right?
It is.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So really, I mean, it's been a lifelong battle for me. And I'll get more into the story part of it later, I guess. But so I guess since about 2020, I've lost around 160 pounds or so.
Wow.
Give or take.
Wow.
And then really since about June of 2023, that's when I started hitting it really, really hard and figuring some things out. Lost about 105, 110, somewhere in there.
Wow.
So about 9 months since I started that. So yeah, I mean, I'm here talking about my weight loss struggle.
Yeah.
And so I think before I get started, there's a few things that I want to, a few disclaimers, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
And so, because this is a really touchy subject.
Yeah, it can be.
And it can very easily miss the mark of what we're trying to, the message that we're trying to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first of, why am I even here? This is not me coming on and saying like, hey, look at this great thing that I've done.
Right.
Look at me. Look at all this hard work that I've done. Because it's been hard work. It really has. But, it's really all that I've done is I'm trying to learn how to treat my body in a way that pleases God when I should have been doing that all along. And so what I'm doing here, and Paul talks about this in 2 Corinthians, I'm here boasting in my weakness.
Okay.
And so, because I've found out that I've tried doing this myself over and over and over and failed and failed and failed. And once I realized like, hey, I don't have to do this by myself. I have the best tool that I could ever have. And that's that Holy Spirit interceding for me and helping me in that struggle. That's Romans 8. I think that there's power in the fact that that I can talk to people about a struggle that I am currently going through. Because honestly, it's kind of embarrassing. I used to be multiple times in my life, used to be over 400 pounds, well over 400 pounds. And that's kind of embarrassing to tell people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you know what? I'm struggling with this, and other people have struggles too. And so even if you're not struggling with your own weight loss journey, I think that there's things that we can learn from each other's struggles on how to get through our own struggles. And I think that the fact that this is a struggle that I'm currently going through. I mean, it's been a lifelong struggle, but
Sure.
I'm not anywhere close to being done with the struggle or to the finish line of this struggle. And so I think as Christians, a lot of times when we're talking about our struggles, we frame it like in the past. So you hear people say like, yeah, I used to be really bad about, XYZ. That used to be a big struggle with me, but I worked really hard and, I've gotten way better. But we frame it as though it's in the past, or it's a lot
distant past.
Yeah, the distant past, or it's a lot smaller than it actually was, and it may be not nearly as far in the past as we like to frame it as.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that the fact of us being open about our current struggles with one another, and there's appropriate ways to do that for sure. I think that there's a lot of power in that. Because, and I'll get into this in just a second, but the reason I was over 400 pounds multiple times in my life is because I have a food addiction. I mean, I've never been to a doctor to tell me that, but I mean, if it barks like a dog and walks like a dog, it's probably a dog, right? And so,
right.
And so to me, it's no different than, y'all bringing in somebody who struggles with a drug addiction and them using an hour before they come and talking about like, yeah, guys, I'm really struggling with this. And so that's where I'm at. I'm currently struggling with this. I will be struggling with this for a long time, but with the help of those around me and the help of, more importantly, God and his power, I can fight this.
Yeah.
And you can fight whatever struggle you're going through. And so there are a lot of reasons that people are overweight, a lot of different reasons. And so I can't speak for the people who are, overweight because of something that they can't control, right? Because, sometimes there's age is a factor where they physically just aren't able to. Maybe they're on a medication that causes them to gain weight. Maybe they're are physical limitations, physical disabilities, something like that.
Sure.
So the type of, weight issues that I'm talking about today is what I deal with, and that's a food addiction. There's no other reason in the world that I'm overweight other than the fact that I have a poor relationship with food.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I think that's the key phrase right there.
Yeah.
Poor relationship with
poor
food.
relationship with
I think
food.
a lot of people have a poor relationship, and sometimes myself included.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to be overweight to have a poor relationship with food.
Yeah, exactly. You're at Whataburger, 75 cents. You want to supersize that?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Right?
Yeah.
So, I think having a good, healthy relationship with food gives you a healthy life, healthy body.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it's glorifying to God.
Right.
And so the hardest part about the struggle is, if somebody's, like trying to quit smoking, it's like, okay, let's give up cigarettes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Throw those things in the trash and stay away from it as far
cold
as you can.
turkey.
Exactly.
But you can't really do that with food.
Yeah. I can't just say, hey, guess what, guys? I decided to quit food. Like, right? I still have to
Water-based diet.
Yeah. I still have to learn how to use and in a way that is sustaining to my body, so I can live and be healthy without just quitting food. And so there's a lot of lessons that I'm still having to learn on how to do that, because I'm not here claiming to have everything figured out. I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to persuade anybody to try any new product, any new program or anything like that. I'm just here talking about my struggles and what's worked for me, and me trying to glorify God in the way that I'm doing that. And so those are the things I think that I had to clear up before really getting into it.
I appreciate that. No, those are really good.
Because, anything on the internet that you put out there, I don't want to get sued. Don't want to get sued.
Yeah. No, I don't. We don't want you to either. And
Big food will come for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Big food. Yeah.
What do you
exactly.
mean you're not going to eat me?
McDonald's is typing in the chat.
Yeah. Right.
Wendy's has entered the chat. Didn't Wendy's have that super intense social media presence?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they
really
did.
salty.
Oh, wow.
Like they're more saltier than their fries are. Is that good? That's a short. We'll use that later.
I mean, they are salty fries, though.
Are they really?
It's been a while since
That's
I've
why you
eaten
dip
there,
them in the Frosty and they're good. Well, I appreciate you, Ethan, because it takes great courage to say, like, this is my problem, and I applaud you as your brother in Christ, because that's precisely what Christ and his commandments tell us to do.
Absolutely.
Is that what we do is we humble ourselves before our brethren, and what that actually does, it provides such great strength for us all to not only help you, but for you to help us, because there's nothing that you're experiencing. The specifics might be different, but the feelings and the urges and the desires are the things that all of us feel.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about it, that gives us power.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for coming on to sort of this medium, which it feels personal because we're all sitting
Right.
here and we all know each other. But,
Right.
But the impersonality factor is that this is going in a library for someone in the future to access. And we hope that provides them strength and encouragement. And so it's so interesting because some people will like poo-poo that idea. It's like, oh, well, strength and encouragement. But it's like, no. When people are really needing it and they have obtained that moment of it's like the rock bottom moment. We're just sort of like, I can't do this myself. I need help. God help me. In that moment, that seems to be a recurring theme constantly as we sort of talk to people. And in my own life, it's sort of like, I can't do this myself. And that act of humility is what opens your heart for God. And I think that's really amazing that you've had that as well and are able to share it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
it's honesty, which I really appreciate. Most people aren't just willing to be honest because they want to make themselves look as good as possible.
Which we know is the folly of man.
Yeah. What makes you look good as possible is being honest. And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
So you're the rising star right now. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. I'll accept that title.
I'll just say, because my relationship with you is when you get up to lead singing, and that's when I really see you.
Yeah.
And it's because like you're leading singing, and it's great, and I was just sort of like, Ethan's wasting away. What's happening to him? And I thought you were dying.
I am.
You're dying to
He's
yourself.
been in the wilderness.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
You know, in the weight loss journey, it's really weird because, you know, it's one of those things that you have all of these things that are advertised, all these products, all these supplements, all these, whatever of, are you trying to lose 15 pounds in, 2 days or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, but those products are just a Band-Aid for, a bigger problem. Like, let's get to the core of what the issue actually is, and let's make lifestyle changes. Let's make mindset changes.
Changes, yeah. That's really good.
And so, which I'm not saying that, don't use any products. I'm not advocating for or against anything.
Right.
Really, I'm just saying that if you have a struggle with your relationship with food, let's figure out how to fix that, because there's not going to be any sort of quick solution, because, really in weight loss, when you're first starting out, like most of it's going to be like water weight anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll lose weight pretty fast, but you've got to learn how to power through and keep going, even when it gets really hard, because, recently, I've been kind of in a little bit of a rut, to be honest, of really in the past month. I haven't seen like a whole lot of progress, which in weight loss you have, ups, you have downs, you have plateaus, and so it's more than just, a number on the scale. It's fixing your relationship like we've been talking about. But, and so I had the flu, I guess about a month ago, and I was so sick, like I couldn't eat anything. I was like, I don't want any sort of food. Like, I just feel terrible. And so after that, it's like, I haven't eaten in, hardly 3 days. Like, I got to grub. Like, I'm starving. And so, like, start eating and eating and eating and eating. And it's like, all of a sudden, like, whoa. Like, that was kind of scary. Like,
Yeah.
I felt a lot of the, old tendencies coming back. Like, all right, we got to reset, got to refresh and get focused again. And so there's so much of that in the battle of, you win some battles, you lose some battles, but the most important thing is to, just keep going. No matter if you had a good day yesterday, if you had a bad day yesterday, like, let's just keep pushing.
Keep going. Persistence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because this is, so I guess I'll just talk a little bit about, my kind of experience with weight loss. And so I was a big kid, my whole life. Maybe as a kid, not like severely overweight or anything like that, but I was definitely bigger than the rest of my friends. And so I remember, like little dribblers when I'm in like third, fourth, fifth grade, whatever. I'm like a foot taller than everyone else. But I was so much bigger than everyone else. Like, I couldn't play both sides of the court. And so they would just stick me like under the basket, and then they throw the ball up to me, and I hold the ball up above my head and just kind of toss it up to the basket. And if I didn't make it, get the rebound, toss it back up until I made it. And so, I was like the leading scorer, but I didn't play defense. And so, things like that have been kind of the theme of my life to this point, I feel like. And so moving into, kind of the middle school years, I slimmed up a little bit just because you start, athletics and football and, all the workouts and stuff like that. And so start slimming up a little bit. And in high school, early years of high school, I remember I think it was my junior year of high school. You go in and start 2-a-days for football, and they measure you, they weigh you for like all the program stats. And I remember that was kind of the first time I realized, like, I might actually have a pretty big problem here, because I remember I stepped on the scale and I was 345, and like, to me, I was like, I'm an offensive lineman, like 345, like those are NFL numbers, right? Like,
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, okay, like whatever. Well, when they reported the program, it's got everybody's height, weight listed. They listed me at like 305. I was like, oh, maybe they're like covering up what my actual weight was, because, it doesn't look that great when, to put 345 pounds on a high school program.
Interesting.
And so I remember thinking like, oh, this may actually be a problem, because to that point, I had just kind of accepted the fact that I'm a big guy. Like, I eat too much, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really think a whole lot about it. It was like, if my clothes get too small, like, I'll go buy new clothes. It is what it is.
Okay.
And then, so that was kind of one of the first times I realized, like, oh, this is a problem. And then, so moving into my senior year, that's when things started getting like really bad, because so after my senior year, after football was done, got beat out in the playoffs. So from, I think that was like late October, early November, something like that. You quit working out, you quit lifting every day. You quit doing these, terrible workouts. I hated them so much. I mean, looking back, like, I miss them.
You missed them now.
I miss them now.
Yeah.
But I mean, the stress and the pit that you feel in your stomach, like 10 minutes before you go do one of those workouts, it's like, that's the worst feeling in the world. And so that used to be the like biggest stressor in my life, was having to go and work out, doing, football workouts and stuff. And so after football was over, I didn't play any other sports. And so we were free to go during our athletic period. Like, we'd all go and go eat lunch or whatever. And so literally between the time that I quit playing football to the day of my graduation, I gained probably 80 pounds within a matter of just a few months. And I don't remember the exact number of how much I actually gained, but I remember so my graduation day, so we're fast forward to May, this is 2015, I woke up and I was so sick. I had, like flu or something like that. And so I had graduation that day. I was supposed to give like a speech at graduation, and then we were going to Colorado as a whole senior class on our like senior trip right after graduation. And so I was like, I don't want to miss all this. Like, I'm going to the doctor, seeing what's the biggest shot y'all can give me. Like, make me feel good, please. And so, you go into the doctor's office and they measure you, they weigh you. I remember I stepped on the scale and it said 413 pounds. And I was like, oh, like it was like somebody punched me in the chest. Like it took the air out of me. I was like, I had no idea. Like I was thinking, maybe 350, 360 somewhere. Like I knew I gained some weight. My clothes were smaller, but like I had no idea. 413 pounds. I was like, oh man, like this is definitely a problem. So that was the first time that I was ever like, okay, I'm going to lose weight. Like I need to do this. And so that summer, me and a few of my buddies, we got together and started doing, have y'all ever heard of those insanity videos?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you would have seen us trying to do these insanity videos, like here I am, a 400-pound guy. Like I can't do a push-up. I can't if you would have had a camera in there, like you would have won America's Funniest Home Videos or something like that. It was bad. But that was the most active thing that I'd done in a long time. And so that really did help. And having this group of guys that we're all trying to lose weight together, it did help. And so from that summer, I lost maybe 50 or 60 pounds, something like that. So I got down to like 350s, 360s, somewhere in there. So I was feeling good about myself. Like, I'm like, okay, like I'm back to where I was in high school. Like this is pretty good. Well, then, you start college and, it was our big thing where almost every night we'd go to McDonald's and go order a 20-piece nugget and some fries and a drink. And then we'd go back to the dorms and play ping pong and, munch out on our McDonald's or our Whataburger or whatever. And, man, it came on back real fast. And so like from there, it just kind of fluctuated. Like and for some reason in my head, like as long as I was under 400 pounds, like I was good. And so I would let myself get back up to 400 pounds and then I'd lose, 20 or 30 pounds. Then I'd come back up and then go back down. And I don't know why 400 pounds for me was the threshold of like, you have a problem if you're over 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And so, very unhealthy way of thinking. And so I'd be curious if I could go back and count exactly, how many pounds total I've ever lost in my life. Like,
that's interesting.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea because, it was just up and down and up and down.
That's where that persistence comes in.
It really was. And it hadn't like clicked in my head yet at that point of, how do I actually do this? Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I hadn't really ever tried any diets or any supplements or anything like that. It was just like, maybe I eat less than I normally do and I'll try working out. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but here we are. And so none of that really changed in pretty much all my years of college. And so fast forward 2020, this is, COVID shutdowns. So I'm working part-time at that time at my internship, and I'm still in school full-time. And so everything is online. They sent us home from work. And so for 6-8 weeks or so, you're waking up and putting on couch. Yeah,
for real.
Putting on stretchy pants and just living life. So literally all there is to do is work, not go to school, work, do school, and eat, and that's really it. Mm-hmm. So for about 6 or 8 weeks, however long it was, I didn't put on like regular clothes. Like it was like literally, stretchy pants.
Wow.
It was,
Yeah.
T-shirts. It was athletic shorts, whatever. And so those are very misleading because, it's like you can't feel stretchy pants getting smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I remember, so this was April 2020, and this was my dad's birthday. And so we decided, like, we haven't gotten out of the house in a while. And so we're going to do something for my dad's birthday. I think we wound up eating food and, like, driving around. I don't know, something like that. And I was like, just for me, I'm going to wake up and actually get dressed in, like, the clothes that I would normally wear to work or whatever. Just, kind of change things up a little bit. Like, I'm tired of stretchy pants. Well, put on the pants that I'd worn just fine, 6-8 weeks before that. And, I mean, they lack about that much from buttoning. It's like,
Wow.
oh, no.
Wow.
And so at that point, like, I couldn't even step on a scale. Like, I was like, I don't have a clue what it's going to say. I know I'm very far north of 400 pounds. I really have no idea. But I think that was probably the biggest that I've ever been. I don't know about weight-wise, really. But and so that was when things, like, actually kind of started, like, clicking a little bit. And so I was like, okay, like, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to, like, work out as hard as I can. But at that point, like, I had not really changed the way that I ate very much. Like, I was eating less a little bit, but, like, it was still, like, very, very poor. And so, but just by being active was helping me lose weight. And so, I had gone down and down and down. And I think I'd, at that point, within a year or so, maybe lost, I don't know, maybe 75, 80 pounds. I got down to, like, the 350s, 340s, somewhere in there. And then, at that time, I graduated, and me and Jess Brockman had moved in together, had our little rent house out in the ghetto, and it was great. We had a motorcycle gang for our neighbors, and they were awesome. They watched out for us, so we had a lot of fun together. That's a different story, but it was awesome. And so, like, we both were just, like, working out all the time. We were. Jess was way better at eating healthy than I was, because I was still eating very, very poorly. But I was feeling good about myself because I'm like, hey, I'm super active. Now all of my hobbies involve some sort of activity because I'd gotten, like, really, really hard into racquetball. I'd gotten really into doing, like, weightlifting and cardio and stuff like that. And so I'm feeling pretty good about myself because it's like, okay, like, all of a sudden, like, I enjoy working out. I enjoy being active.
That's
and
good.
so that was kind of a major step in the fact that, before it was like any type of activity, any type of working out, like, I did not want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm going to get sweaty. I'm going to be out of breath. Like, it's going to be embarrassing.
Making
like,
excuses,
yeah,
dreading
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of helped me get over the leap of, being active. And so now I throw pickleball into the mix. We have a great
Life
time
is better.
playing pickleball.
Now
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
pickleball.
exactly.
Yep.
And so, but through all this, like, yeah, I lost some weight, but still terrible relationship with food. And so about that time is when I met Brett. We start dating, and all of a sudden, like, I start getting a lot more, like, relaxed, maybe not working out as much. So weight
Happens
starts
every
kind of
time.
going up. You get that happy weight, right? And for a lot of people, that's not a huge deal. Like, some
Ladies
people
make you big,
yeah, right.
big old fat.
You got all these
Here's some
dates,
chocolate
and all you're
strawberries.
doing is eating.
You gonna eat those chocolate
Yeah,
strawberries?
exactly.
No?
Exactly. Or we go and go out to eat and order, and she eats half of whatever she got, and I'm like,
Can
give
I
me
have that?
Yeah.
I'm like a raccoon. Like, I'll just eat anything.
Then
I
you
have
to
a
fill in
couple
the
of
gaps.
questions.
Yeah.
How old were you? How old are you now?
Right now I'm 27.
Wow.
27.
See, I didn't realize because I am only realizing now that I'm about to turn 38. And so it's sort of like, I'm old compared to like most of you. Caleb's the closest to age than myself, but so this was only just a few years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
So you graduated high school.
Graduated 2015 from high
15.
school.
So you were 5 years out of high school when the pandemic hit. 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you were really in your early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact when you just saying these numbers, my jaw is dropping.
Yeah.
You lost 50 pounds. You lost 70 pounds. You gained. And that's the other thing is I'm a big guy too, and I was an offensive lineman. And so I played in college, and swimming is what really helped my cardio.
Mm-hmm.
So like the last 2 years of college when I played, just Division III, it wasn't amazing. Is what I call super high school. But it was Division III college, and I swam every morning in the summer breaks leading up to the fall. When I was done playing football, I had a very similar experience. No one taught me how to eat when you weren't playing football. Because like it's one thing when it's sort of like, okay, we go to CC's and it's all you can eat. And brother, it's all you can eat.
We're putting that place out of business.
It's sort of like, we're going to get our money's worth for that $3.95 or whatever it was.
Exactly.
It's true. and then it's like, oh, I'm so full, I'm going to throw up. And then it's like, wait, dessert pizza.
Cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how I when you were saying that, I had a very similar experience of, okay, I'm no longer playing football. You hang the pads up for the last time. You hang up the cleats. And actually throw them away because they smell that bad. And then, by the time I graduated in college, I had gained some weight. And then when I came out, and I remember the first picture that someone had taken of me, it was at Tech when I was in my graduate work. And I was still kind of eating like I was playing football. But I would go out for runs, and I was active. I kind of wanted to pick apart what you were saying about workouts as well, because I didn't like to work out. Football workouts because I didn't like getting hit necessarily.
Yeah.
But I know how good you felt after you worked out.
Mm-hmm.
So mentally I was able to just push through that.
Yeah.
It's like getting started. And so I was like, well, I don't want to get sweaty, but okay, let's just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then you forget it once you're in. But then I remember there's a picture of me in Palo Duro Canyon with my friends, and they were like, let's go up to Palo Duro Canyon. And I think I've been there before. I went there as a kid. And someone took a picture of me, and I have this huge belly, and I've never gotten rid of it, I don't think. And it's just, I think it's the same thing where we're just sort of putting on food, and it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because you're able to just almost like flush it out of you real fast because you're so active playing football, running, hitting people, lifting weights. And then when you quit that, no one ever, I think the debrief after they should have the coaches listening to this is important, that you need to teach your kids when they're no longer playing football. And they're not going to listen to you because whatever, coach, I'm done with you. But you need to sit down with several team meetings, and you need to teach the kids, okay, we're done. I loved all of you. I'm going to forget you in 5 years, so apologize whenever you see me at Walmart and you say, hey, coach. I'm going to be like, hey, man.
Hey, dude.
Because there's 7,000 of you.
Yep.
But then to be able to say, when you go to McDonald's, you need to order the Happy Meal. You don't need to order the triple meat, double, or rather, let's talk about eating for the rest of your life. And I just think that it's education. Something's happening. Everybody's on their phones.
No, you're good.
Sorry, go
You're
keep
making
going.
Ethan uncomfortable.
Keep going.
His eyes are darting around like a pickleball.
Sorry, keep going.
His body language got really what is happening?
Sorry, Emmy's not feeling too good, so I'm just coordinating stuff.
Okay, this is what happens whenever I start talking. Everybody just gets on their phones. This is Gen Z privilege. Everybody laughs at the millennials because it's like the millennials are at least having a conversation, and the Gen Zers are all talking to their spouses. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back after everybody checks in with their wives. Sorry, it got really shady in here. Let me turn the lights back up. That's a short. That's a short on YouTube.
Okay.
Anyway, so I totally reflect what you're feeling. When you were eating, because I also kind of reflected the same thing of like, okay, I'm a kid, I'm hungry, let's eat. And even now, it's a mental attack of like, I'm not full, I want to be full.
Yeah.
Is that what you feel? It's just sort of like, no, I'm not full, so I can keep eating.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes, like, I think for so long in my life where I associated being full with just feeling sick. And so it's like, I don't have that line of like, you're full, you've had enough. It's like, no, I'm going to blow past that until like I hate myself for 2 days. Like,
Wow.
And so, cause I can't tell you how many times, where it's been, and I'm also like a bored eater. So if I'm like sitting around, like, especially, since the baby's been born, like there's been a whole lot of just sitting around watching TV and just rocking the baby. It's like,
being a dad and just sort of like everything's stressed. I absolutely get that.
Especially when you turn the TV on. For me, that's a trigger. Like,
Really?
I've got to be eating something
Yeah.
because I'm
Eating?
watching something.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
and
Wow.
and so it's like, I'm not even hungry. It's just like,
Something to do.
yeah, it's something to do, really. But
Right.
in my life, I can't tell you how many times where it's like I almost black out, to where it's, like I still do this. Like the other day, I went into the pantry and I'm looking and I was like, I need to eat something. Like I wanted something healthy. Like I was like, I've got a little bit of calories left for the day. Like what's a good snack that I could do? And while I'm doing that, I had a bag of like the crumbled up granola, and I'm just like munching on this, and I'm munching, and like I'm not even realizing what I'm doing. I'm just eating and eating and eating. And this was like 2 weeks ago. I'm not talking about 2015. So I was in there for a good long while, and then I realized like, oh, why did I just do that? Like, and then, so many times I felt guilty when I do stuff like that, of like, you just ruined your whole day of eating healthy, or, of having a good day. And Brett walked into the pantry about 30 minutes later and she goes, "Where's that brand new bag of granola that I just bought?" She said, "What happened to it?" I was like, I ate it. And, it's funny to look back and I can laugh about it, but like, I was like, I was mad at myself that I had let myself do that. But in the moment, I wasn't even thinking. And I can't tell you how many times I've literally polished off a entire tray or whatever you want to call it of Oreos, or the Chewy Chips Ahoy, the red package. Those are top notch. Like I can still, like, if I wanted to, I could go and punish like a whole thing of one of those in one sitting, no problem. Eat an entire pizza in one sitting. Like, I mean, not because I'm really all that hungry, just because it's like, I don't feel sick yet. Like I still got room. And you're talking about the CC's thing. It's like, well, the more that I eat, the less money that I'm spending per slice. And so it's a business decision to eat, 28 slices of pizza when I go.
But what you're actually spending is your life.
Yeah.
Like you're spending years of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like I said earlier, I am a self-diagnosed food addict. I've never talked to I don't even know who diagnoses you with an addiction. I don't know if that's a thing
Some
or not.
type of
Psychiatrist, doctor, whatever. I have no piece of paper signed by a doctor saying,
Sure.
Ethan has a food addiction. Signed Dr. Pepper. I'm glad you caught that.
It's delicious. I was trying to be respectful.
But and so, even when I was a little kid, I remember, hey mom, can I have this, brownie? No, you've already had 2 of them. Like you need to be done. And then like I'd go and get the brownie and stick it in my pocket and go to another room and eat the brownie. Like, I mean, I started these terrible tendencies like when I was a little kid. And so it's one of those things where when you've done it for so long, it's really hard to teach yourself, like, hey, there is a line. If you just listen to your body, like, it will tell you when you're full, when you've had enough, but you don't have to feel sick every time that you eat. And so, I think that's one of the keys of changing the way that you think about food is, let's say maybe food addiction for some people is too harsh of a word. But I'll tell you, I've been, so the hardest thing for me food wise is going to events. Like church events are the hardest for me. You got this great spread of food.
Mayonnaise content is very high.
Exactly. Exactly. There's not, nobody's bringing steamed broccoli to the potlucks, right? And so those are the hardest situations for me because everyone's having a great time. Everyone is just eating and eating and eating. And there's fellowship and, you're with your Christian brothers and sisters and like life is great. Like potlucks are amazing. Love potlucks. But, all of a sudden you go back for your fourth plate and it's like, oh, like I'm not going to be able to even sing at Sunday night church. Like this is bad. And so I can't tell you how many times I've gone to, a Bible study where there's food and I could care less about what the message is. Like I'm thinking, okay, what kind of pizza are we having at the teen study? Is it going to be Papa John's? Bleh. Is it going to be Pizza Hut? Yay. Whatever it is. Or it's like, all right, can this guy hurry up because there's still pizza left? You've been talking for 45 minutes and, I want more pizza. And so that alone, if you don't want to call it a food addiction, call it, an idol.
I mean, it's taking up a lot of your mental space.
Yeah. And so it's like,
you've got it pegged.
And so you can call it whatever you want, but it is getting in between my relationship with God and me.
Yeah. It's
and so,
idolatry, man.
yeah, exactly. And so how do I get that, how do I beat this struggle? And I don't know that you can beat a struggle because it's a struggle, right? You can manage it a lot better, but honestly, like I feel like that this is going to be a struggle that I have for the rest of my life. I may do better at beating it because of things that I've learned and my faith in God and Him helping me. But there is, I'm probably going to have to think about this and work around this struggle for the rest of my life. And part of that is just because like I love food, like and so it's kind of a crazy thing, but I've learned too, if I just view food as, not this amazing thing that I love to do, that I love, consuming, if I just think about it as fuel for my body, nothing more, nothing less, it's fuel for my body. Like I need it to live and that's it. Like all of a sudden, when I go to, whatever it is, like our monthly men's Bible study, like if I'm not thinking about the food, all of a sudden I'm more focused on the relationships there. I'm more focused on the message. I'm more focused on, okay, how do I apply this message to my life where I can be a better man for God? And so when I'm not even thinking about food, so what I've had to do recently is a lot of times when these types of events come up, I will eat beforehand. I'll eat like a protein bar or something like that. And because for me, it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to go in here and I'm not eating. That not eating is a lot easier to do than eat in moderation, because especially like those men's studies, when Paige makes that monkey bread, oh man, that's a weakness. That's a weakness.
It's bad.
We were talking about that just the other day. It's delicious. And
so good.
And so I got to be sitting here at this Bible study thinking more on things of the spirit than things of the monkey bread.
Yeah. And another thing for me, I don't know, I feel sometimes like I'm rude if I don't go and eat. Like Like it's just another excuse I make up in my mind.
Yeah.
But, like, oh, I'm being rude. Like I need to eat out of obligation.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
So I guess whenever you were a kid, I'm a middle child. And so I always equate a lot of my problems to being a middle child. Just because that's my lot in life. But I almost feel like it was survival instinct.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I need food. Like I need to eat.
Yeah.
Because if not, my brothers will. But then it was more aggressive, just sort of like, well, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
And it was lack of self-control.
Yeah.
How would you put it into words of like, why take the third brownie and conceal it? And did you ever make yourself feel shameful about it? Or
Yeah. I mean, for sure, I would always feel like bad. And when I was younger, I didn't really think a whole lot about it. It's just like, I want that brownie. Like I'm gonna eat that brownie. I didn't think about
it feels
good.
good.
It tastes good. Like I like this. I want it, and like I'm gonna take the third brownie. And so when you're 10, 12 years old, you don't think about your calorie intake, or you don't think about your health in the future. It's like, I like brownies. I'm gonna eat as many brownies as I can eat.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
it tastes good. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. And so, I don't know exactly how that translates to today necessarily. I think it's more so the habits that I picked up when I was older and kind of making my own decisions. And especially like my high school days. I remember, so my senior year, spring break of senior year, my parents moved to Lubbock. And so I would drive back and forth because I went to school in Idalou. And so pretty much every day I would go eat at Allsup's or at Subway, and so that was really the first time in my life where I had like free reign to, eat whatever I want. And so it was like, I'll go to Allsup's, I'll punish 3 of their amazing burritos, and I'll get one of their massive chocolate chip and caramel cookies, which are also delicious. And yeah, I'll get a pint size chocolate milk too. And so, probably like 5,000 or 6,000 calories in one meal. I don't know exactly what it is, but, and so I think that's where the actual problem with food started, was when I was just making my own decisions, and it was like, I'm going to eat whatever and everything that I can. And I don't know why that's the direction that I went. I don't know what necessarily caused it, just other than poor choices on my part. I mean, there's nobody else to blame. There's no condition to really blame. It's just, I've always loved food, and I never taught myself to learn when I was full, really. And so that really came to light a lot. So the thing that really helped me turn a corner, I think, in my food consumption, and when I actually started losing like a significant amount of weight and being able to hold it off. So rewind June of 2023. So about 9 months ago, 8.5 months ago, whatever. There was nothing specific about this day. Nothing really special. I was literally on my way to work, and I was like, you know what? I'm working out all the time. I'm spending hours and hours a week doing some sort of cardio, playing racquetball, playing pickleball, lifting weights. Like, the activity part is not my issue. It's only the food. And I was like, if you just get your eating under control, like, you will lose weight. And so I was like, okay. And so in the past, I've tracked my calories before, but it was hard, and it was time consuming, and it was annoying, and I did not like it. But I was like, maybe if I track for a little bit and just kind of see and get an idea of like what I'm actually eating in a day. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try that for a little bit and just see how it goes. And so started tracking that first day, and I was like, there's how many calories in an ounce of ranch? Like, I want 5 ounces of ranch on this salad. Like, it's still healthy. It's a salad. Well,
Right.
no, like 5 ounces of ranch, like how many, like maybe 500, 600, 700 calories. I don't know how much.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that kind of opened my eyes of, wow, maybe I'm eating way, way more than I need to. And I just don't have a clue. Cause I thought that I was kind of eating, healthier choices. Like I was still, as of June, 2023, I was 355 pounds. So a lot less than I've been in the past. And feeling really good just because, just from working out constantly, like you get your body feeling better. You build muscle, stuff like that. And so I was already feeling pretty good, but I was like, I gotta get this weight off. And so I tracked that first day and I was like, this is too hard. I'm done. And then the next day I was like, you know what? That really wasn't that hard. I'm going to do this.
Good for you.
I'm going to do this. And so I started tracking, and I use an app. It's called Lose It. There's all kinds of apps out there that help track your calories. And for me, like the tracking of the calories is the easiest part to losing weight. Like, I mean, there's so many different programs. Like there's, Weight Watchers where you count the points, which, I've heard a lot of success stories from, Weight Watchers or whatever. There's so many different diets and stuff like that. But I was like, I don't want to pay for anything. I don't want to have this like, strict diet. I just want to know how much I'm eating and know when I'm eating too much. And so literally tracking calories is like the easiest way, in my opinion, to lose weight. And so you just go in there and anything that you eat, you log it on your phone. And sometimes you have to kind of research and like how many calories is in, 6 ounces of chicken, whatever.
Sure.
But it's like got things that are pre-built in there for you. And so as long as you're tracking and being kind of conservative on the way that you track now, because there's a whole database of foods that people have entered. And so it's like, a slice of Costco pizza, 100 calories. And it's like, who made this? Like, I want to be on their diet, but
What?
Yeah, it's like,
I'm pretty sure that's last
Going to
pizza,
Costco.
500.
yeah. And so you have to be kind of careful with that. And it sounds great to me. And so that was, I realized like, okay, most foods have a lot more calories than I think that they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the serving size is always tricky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's 15 serving sizes in this bag of almonds. 15.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
do the math real quick. There's 800 calories in that.
Yeah. And so literally if, going back to, we're talking about if food is the thing that's in your way of losing weight or being healthier, and there's no other outside circumstances, no other, anything like that. If you're in a calorie deficit, meaning you're burning more calories than you're eating every day, like you will lose weight.
Yeah.
You will. And it's also not about like the number on the scale. Because, just making healthier choices and trying to mend that relationship with food is the key. And so really I tracked calories I'm still tracking calories. I think I'm a little over, I don't know how many days that is. It tells you, you lock in your day and it's like, congratulations, this is your,
Oh, really? Gives you little rewards.
240th day or something like that.
Yeah.
So I started tracking June 7th, is when I started tracking of 2023. And so I did that for a few months and I was kind of like hitting a rut. I'm like, this is getting kind of tiring. This is, it's getting kind of old. Like I need some help. And like, I can't tell you over the past, 10, 15 years of my weight loss struggle, like I can't tell you how many times I've prayed and like, God, I don't even know what I need help with. Like, I just need help. I need help. I can't do this by myself. Like I need help. And so I've learned like just praying a specific prayer of God, help me not to overeat at this next meal. Especially if it's a meal like where I know that there's going to be,
Unlimited servings.
Yeah. It's like, God, give me the strength to have self-control.
Yeah.
Help me to not go over my calorie budget for the day. And I think that there's a lot of special things that come from saying specific prayers. And it sounds silly to pray like,
Nope.
help me not to eat more
That's
than
not silly.
500 calories at this meal.
That's 100% it, Ethan.
Yeah.
That's absolutely it.
And like, to me, that helps me frame my mind
That's awesome.
so well. So that's one thing that has really, really helped me stay on track. The next thing that's really, really helped me is most people that are listening will probably know the name Braden Slaybaugh. But me and him, we're on this journey together, and he's doing great, and he's killing it. Really proud of him. But we use the same app, and we take screenshots of our calorie intake for the day and send it to each other every night.
Awesome.
Oh,
And
accountability.
Yeah, accountability.
You the man.
And so our app, it's like if you eat over your calories for the day, like it turns red and you feel really bad about yourself. It's like, man.
The red app
And
of
so,
shame.
yeah, it is. It's like you had a red day, you loser. And so for the longest time when we first started, it was like, he's not sending me any red days. I am for sure not sending him any red days. And so like that was really helpful. And so now it's like, okay, every once in a while you got to have a red day. Like it's just going to happen and it's okay. But part of that battle is saying, okay, yesterday I had a red day, but today like doesn't carry over. That today's a new day. We're going to win this day. And another thing that has really, really helped me is, and this also is going to sound silly, but when me and Brett were when we first started dating, we made a deal with each other where you cannot break a pinky promise. Not even joking, not kidding. Like even if you're like a pinky promise cannot be broken. You cannot joke with a pinky promise. And it sounds really silly, but if I'm really struggling in a day and I'm like just feeling like overeating, like I will pinky promise her that I will not eat anything the rest of the day. And like that works so well because
Really?
like all of a sudden it's like, okay, like it helps me remember like this isn't just about myself because like, it kind of puts this like stop in my brain of like, okay, you promised your wife that you would not eat anymore today. And if you eat more today, that breaks that promise. And like that's, I don't know. For me, there's a lot of strength in a promise of giving her my word of like, hey, I'm not eating anymore today.
That's awesome.
And so, because the fact of the matter is my wife deserves me to be the healthiest that I can be. And my son deserves to have the healthiest dad that I can be. And I get kind of emotional talking about that, but
No.
It helps me remember that all of a sudden my choices don't just affect me. Cause I can't remember how many times I would say to myself, you overate today, like doesn't really matter. Like you're just, you're a big guy. You're a big guy and you'll always be a big guy. And that's a lie that Satan has sold to me many, many times. And so having that promise in there of I'm not going to eat anything else today, like that just helps going back to that mindset. And so it's really, really important in specifically this battle, but all battles that we go through is we have to remember how weak that we are by ourselves. We have to remember how strong that God is. And we have to remember that there is strength in relying on others for help. And so that has been the biggest key, I think, in helping me stay on track this time, because it's like, what's different this time? You've lost weight countless times in your life and gained it right back. And so honestly, like that's kind of scary to me of like, okay, well, what's the next thing that causes me to fall off track and gain this weight back?
Sure.
And so it's like I have to constantly be on a mind battle of like, doesn't matter what Satan's going to send my way. Like we're going to rely on every source of strength that we have from God and from the people that he sends to help us to make it through whatever battle that is. And so,
It makes an interesting point when Paul is talking about just life and living a godly life. His point is, I'm fighting the good fight. Like, I've fought the good fight. I've finished my course. Like, I've run the race. I've kept my faith. And those three things being very culturally connected, fighting the good fight, Roman times. I mean, what was Rome but constantly be surrounded by soldiers, breeding, fighting. I've finished my course. They were Greeks. And so one thing that the Greeks really loved doing was athleticism and running races. And those things make sense. And then being a Jew, faith being a major point. I think everything that you've talked about to this point, Ethan, is really just the Christian struggle.
absolutely.
But it's not per se just with food. It's anything. It's pornography. It's tongue, a vile tongue. It's greed. It's anything that would cause us as men of God to stumble. I am tempted by this. I am tempted by other men. I'm tempted, whatever it is, jealousy. I want what they have. I want that third brownie. Whatever those things are, we all struggle with something. And what you have eloquently put are the baby steps of repentance. And it's a mindset change. And I think that's what the New Testament drives home, is that I'm going to put myself to death, where what I was is dead. Mm-hmm. I'm going to come alive anew, and I'm going to be different. And the mind is willing. The body is very weak.
Absolutely.
And so all that Paul talks about throughout all of his writings is merely just discipline. And I think that what you're doing is working out discipline, and it's beautiful. And any way that we can help, let us know. But it seems that you've got it handled. And I would just say I'm detecting a hint of, well, this might sound silly, but
Yeah.
everything that you said, you should never feel that way. Like, that pinky promise thing is beautiful.
It is.
It's cute.
It really is.
It's cute, but that is more powerful than even making a vow. Just saying, I'm not going to eat the rest of it. I mean, the Old Testament talks several times where even Saul, the king, was like, no man shall eat or drink something else until we find David, and then they didn't work. They obviously had to break that vow. But I think that those little struggles, I'm going to pray to God, please help me to not drink a second cup of coffee. If that's what's tempting you, you just figured it out, friend. You have God at your side. The fact that you have humbled yourself, I'm being really objective and saying you've humbled yourself to the point where you say, I know that this is a temptation for me. Please help me with it. Now you've humbled yourself before God. You've gone to him in prayer. You're doing exactly what the Bible is telling you to do. And any listener who is not a Christian, that is precisely what we as men of God are trying to bridle our human selves, and we are trying to rely on him to help us through those moments of temptation. Like, it's really easy to see $300 in the till and nobody's looking, and I could just take that and nobody knows. And it's really easy to have that third scoop of corn casserole because it's so good because the mayonnaise content is so high. I just saying, and I've been there too, like even working out, like your body will tell you food-wise, because I'm on the same struggle bus, but like your body will tell you, yeah, I want that, or yeah, I need that. And it's so interesting where if you just preoccupy your mind with something else or go to God in prayer and meaningfully say, I am struggling, I need your help, let me go do something else. My similar struggles were, recently with the pandemic, I've voiced that here on this podcast just to say again, like, I felt betrayed by friends during the podcast just because I lost my job. They were my friends, and I wanted revenge on those people, and I want them to pay, and I want them to suffer, and I know how to do it. And then I would recognize that I was feeling that way, and I would go on a walk, and then like you'd see somebody down the street and you'd freak out that they're going to give you COVID and that you're going to die, but then, so you give them a wide berth, but then on those walks, it was just me and God, and I would talk to him. And it was one of the times in my life of faith, I suppose, that I was going to God, not formally. I always felt that I had to go to God formally. Like, I'm not worthy to talk to you. And so here's my request, please don't kill me. And that's kind of how I felt up until the point where it's like, I'm kind of mad at you, and talking it out. And what helped me was reading the Psalms, because David talks to God like he's your friend, like you and I are talking now. Yeah. And then you read several of the Old Testament people that actually walked and actually talked to God. And it's sort of, I envy that, except that's what's been given to us. We have that ability to go to God in prayer. He's our mental friend. And some people who I would even assuage to say that I always go to the atheist subreddit just because I want to hear what these people are thinking and talking to each other. And so the atheist subreddit would essentially say that we're psychotic, like we're just talking to voices in our head. It's not that God talks back per se, but it's that we see the effect of him in our lives, of strength, of, wow, I was actually able to go through that and not think about that tray of stuff over there, even though I really wanted it. And being able to identify it is the first step in solving that problem. But like I would go on these walks and I would talk to God, and I'm like, I don't want to even have these thoughts. Like, take them from me. I don't want them. I don't need to have that on my heart. And if that gives you any technique or encouragement, I mean, it's just sort of like, I don't even want that. I don't even want to feel that. I feel it. I actually feel it. You created me. I'm feeling this. You have the power to take it away from me and help me move on, And that ask that I felt is, I was just reflecting that on my heart, what you were saying, like, help me get through and not have that craving for this.
Yeah.
That's not silly. That's actually it.
Yeah.
You actually have what I think is the tactile response of you as a man of God going to God in prayer and asking for strength. That's Absolutely. Precisely it.
Yep.
And that's a great technique. Like, let's end war. Yes, you should pray for God to end war, but more tactile things that are, when you are struggling, do the micro helps, the things that, like if you look at secular self-help, there's lots of wisdom in that, but it lacks that connection with God. And those things of wisdom actually can give you techniques to actually help you be successful physically. But then that next step of, now you're going to get redeemed. And I believe that you're going to get to that point after you've continued with this discipline and after your walk with God, alongside God in this struggle. You're going to be able to look back in a few years and actually say, you know what, I used to be, because now I'm changed.
Yeah.
Now I've gone, and like the Bible talks about how you have to be refined in the refiner's fire, your sanctification. If that's your idol and you're tackling it, and that it is obtainable, you can do it with God. You can move past that, and you can be a changed person because God has the power to do that. And I think you're walking through that step, and it's very encouraging to me. It's very encouraging to all of us. And any way that we can help, let us know. But, we pale in comparison to God.
Yeah.
But that is the exact path that we are all taking with whatever it is that we struggle with. It's like, you know what? If this is the cause of my temptation and sin, then throw it away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If my eye causes me to sin, pluck it out, because it's better for you to go through life blind than to burn. Mm-hmm. And these lessons are through the New Testament, through the love of God, because God loves us. And, well, okay, we're in this place that we're here to be tempted for a little while, but it's for our sanctification. It's so that we turn to God. It's so that our relationship grows. Anyway, I'm still talking.
No, I thought you said it was really good. It's small baby steps, working our way into the image of Christ. Right? Yeah, we probably need to wrap it up.
Oh, we're wrapping it up.
But
the
Ethan,
cameras are dying.
yeah, they're like, please stop.
We're overheating.
Need more battery. Hungry. We appreciate you, Ethan.
Yeah.
I think it's a remarkable story. Thank you for sharing
We've
some
got
of your
one more
wisdom.
question we always ask our guests
Okay.
if we have some time. So, Matthew, it talks about how a Roman soldier could evoke another person who was sort of their slaves, like the Jewish people. A Roman soldier could require you to carry a burden for them for the distance of a mile.
Mm-hmm.
And in context of Christ's teaching, he says, if someone requires to go a mile, go with them 2. So that's actually the namesake of the podcast, the extra mile. How would you currently in your life, how can you impart some wisdom to us and the listener? How can we go the extra mile for our fellow man?
I think that, and you touched on it already, that passage in Matthew, Sermon on the Mount, if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Battling sin causes us to have to take drastic measures. We have to have uncomfortable conversations. We have to do things that we don't want to do naturally as humans. And I would say specifically in relation to this weight loss discussion, for some reason, this has been a more acceptable, like socially acceptable thing to struggle with. It's like, I walk through the church doors 400 pounds and literally like killing myself, and where is the fight against that sort of temptation like there is against, if somebody came in, stumbling over drunk. And so it's like both are equally damaging to our bodies. Both are equally sinful. Both are equally, hard temptations. And so I would say, let's not be afraid to have these conversations. Now it's different with weight loss. Like, hey George, I know you're packing on a few extra pounds. Like, can I help you eat healthy? Like, something. It's very different. But like, when somebody voices their struggle, like, and I'm not saying like for me, I'm not asking for help right now. Like,
Right.
But let's fight as hard against this sort of temptation as any other sin or any other temptation. And let's fight sin equally as hard as any other sin, because sin is sin and it's destructive and it's equally harmful to ourselves. So let's build each other up. Let's love on each other. Let's show grace to each other. And let's not be afraid to have conversations of, hey, this is what I am currently struggling with. Not something in the past, like this is not getting better. It's not good right now. It's not, it's still here. I'm in the trenches. Like, yep. I need help. And so let's not be afraid to have those conversations, because, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be better servants for the kingdom of God.
And that's a lot what this podcast is about, is trying to have conversations. Sometimes that might be hard. And I appreciate you, Ethan. That was good.
I appreciate y'all.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, friend.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Caleb.
All right.
Thanks, George.
Go so. If you want to know more about the Bible or you have any questions, our email is in the description below. You can DM us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for a church family or you're in the Lubbock area, we invite you to come visit and hang out with us in Milwaukee. We love for you to find a church who practices the love of Christ.